Oh, Daniel just saw it. Okay, let's see. Okay. Wind down. Or hot dogs? Okay. That got a lot of ratings. So we're not talking about we're talking about sluggers today, the Louisville variety. I don't know.
It's probably a good. There we go. That's better. Anyway, somebody
All
was
right.
like, "Not here in Georgia." I didn't have anything to say. Like, it was stupid.
He missed it.
Tim thinks I'm mute. I'm not. I can speak.
Jesus
I can also hear.
and hot dogs. All right, I
Jesus
guess
and
I should.
hot dogs. If Jesus had like a favorite hot dog
Yeah.
other than
So,
Hebrew National, just because
I
you
mean,
know,
I feel like you kind of got to go Hebrew National. I mean, I feel like you can't really throw that one out there. But maybe toppings. We could go toppings. I don't know. I think Jesus would be like very unpretentious on his hot dog, you know?
is
Like
Hebrew National the only like kosher hot dog? Is that its big
maybe not.
thing? I don't
It's
know.
probably not. I mean, there's probably like smaller brands or whatever, but yeah, that's fine.
Oh well.
Wait, what?
So we're talking about the tribute.
Yes, we're talking about the tribute today.
The one
Yeah.
thing that I was like, yeah, sure, I'll never talk about it. Talked about it twice in a row now.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun to talk about. It's definitely perplexing, that's for sure.
Is
I
it
feel
fun
like
to talk about? Okay.
it's fun to talk about any treasure hunts, talk about
Sure
ideas,
is.
throw some ideas around. Um, I don't know. I feel like the tribute is just really unique because it feels like there's so many things that you can pin down, but then you just try to pin down the end and it just like wiggles away. You're just like, it just moves. Things move around. You're like, well, Jesus, what happened there?
Well,
So,
I mean, like the biggest drawback people have for the secret is they work, or the tribute is they work on the tribute the way they work on the secret, when they should be working on the tribute the way John worked on the secret. And John always thought that there was some weird twist at the end of every single secret puzzle. Um,
yeah.
so you got to figure out what that is. He never really talked about any of the twists. Like he thought that the twist at the end of Cleveland was you had to like flip everything around because the numbers were backwards or some such nonsense.
Okay.
Um, but something like that, there's going to be something weird
Oh,
that may not make any sense.
I feel like there's a bunch of things in the tribute that we could that feel twist like the ABC 1, 2, 3, or depending on how you put it, ABC 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Like what is that? Because that's clearly right there in front of you, and I don't know.
See, the weird thing with like John never really making a treasure hunt before is you look at these things and you think, oh, this must be a thing, and then you don't consider that it could also be coincidence. You
Yeah,
know, ABC 1, 2, 3 could be coincidence. It doesn't seem to be, but
yeah,
it very much could be. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
So you got that as possible, and then you've got Kit on the Calazars stream from last year, saying stuff like, "Well, he doesn't even know what Valkyries Window with 7 means," and you're just like, "Oh, okay,"
Dude, I've been
and
telling you guys to ignore that line for
yeah,
like years. Just
and
just throw it out. Throw it out its own window and ignore it.
and he said, like, even he was surprised, I think he said, but even his dad had told him that some of the most obvious things that you put in there that are just like glaringly obvious, go right over people's heads.
Yeah.
And we're like, geez, so I don't know. I think a bunch of us took another look at it when the preliminary sketches came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John's John's sister is in chat. Oh, I got to talk about John's puzzle with John's sister in the chat.
I gotta
Nikki,
get
do
over
you
to
want to
the
come on
chat.
and
I
talk
want to
about
see
your
it.
brother's puzzle? You can. I know about
Yeah,
as much about it as you do.
that would be amazing. That
um,
would be utterly amazing.
yeah. I forgot what I was gonna say. God damn it. Oh shit. I did. It completely slipped my mind. What were we talking about again? We went from Valkyries Window at 7 to something
Yeah,
else.
and then obvious goes just right over.
Oh yeah. So like
With
I've noticed that too with the anniversary hunt. And I think it's because like people can't verify. Like I made a post on Reddit and we were talking about this today. And I think it's because people can't verify things. So um like in the beginning of a puzzle, people come up with a lot of good ideas, but they can't check those ideas. So instead of
yes,
just stopping and being like, I'm going to wait until somebody checks this idea, they just go deeper and deeper and deeper down this imaginary rabbit hole until
yeah,
there's there's no end.
yeah,
So, and eventually they abandon those good ideas because they're like, they didn't lead anywhere. Well, they didn't lead anywhere because you didn't check on them, you know?
mm,
You see that a lot in The Secret, people who are like, these are so deep and you've got to make 17 degrees of connections to whatever to make it all make
yes.
sense. No, you don't have to do that. You just have to like check your ideas.
You mean like boots on the ground, check them?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the tough part for sure. I was trying to send, um, yeah, and I mean, I think Cherokee. They say like there have been a lot of boots on the ground in Cherokee, so that's not. But
Yeah, but there been shovels in the ground, is what I'm
yeah, I
saying.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see.
I
Hey
found
Dave, I
something
sent
in his
you.
house once and my mom made me let it go. I'm curious now. That was what
Yeah,
Nikki said. Nikki said I found
I
something
know.
in his house once and my mom made me let it go.
Do you want me to send you the link, girl?
She might be talking about the cask because I know he had the cask and then
Yeah,
they gave it to someone very trusting who is anonymous and wishes to remain that way.
I can imagine. Oh my God, could you
Yeah,
imagine?
God.
Oh, that would be awful. I
But
don't know.
the things that we found out, so those are the things that will let you know that the tribute is at least safe. There's at least one person that knows where you should be digging, and there's one person that has the cask, and both of them were very trusted by John and fuck
Yeah.
me and lots of other people.
Aw. Yeah, that's fantastic.
I was against giving it away. You did it. You did it. That was a good choice, though. It was a good choice to give it to that person. It really good choice. And I have a feeling that once it's found, you'll probably get it back.
So
If
some of
you
the
if you
cooler
ask for it.
some of the cooler ideas, sometimes you hear something from somebody and it kind of sticks with you and you're like, damn, that's really good. I like oh my God, I went blank. Jeez. Okay. Well, one of Daniel Barker's really good ideas was in Marsh and Hillside. He was in Marsh, you've got like the Pan statue that has the cattails
Mm-hmm.
and the turtles and things. So the Marsh. And then the Hillside is Valky. Let me try that again.
Valkyrie.
Yeah, I was trying to do Valkyrie and Vikings together. So Viking burials they buried the ship into the hillside. And so you've got like the Christensen fountain, that's there on the hillside. And so he was thinking maybe those were Marsh and Hillside because the benches may not have been there when Jam was there writing the verse.
Yeah, I asked Kit about that, but that was like a copper thing, so I figured I'd wait until he came on to say
Oh,
what
yeah.
Kit said about that.
Yeah.
Um,
For sure.
so yeah.
Then I also liked Leanne's. If you look at the top, can I show my screen really quick?
Yeah.
Not that everybody doesn't know what it already looks like, but the verse, let's see, just tell me what I need to do. How do I share? Oh, never mind. Here we go. Okay.
No, kid is not coming on.
Okay. I can't see what you guys see, so tell me if that's
Just turned up some volume. Yeah, we can see it.
okay. All right. So up at the top of the where it has the cat tails and the dragon's head. So she was saying, you have the head of the dragon and the tail, it's the cat tail. So maybe you have the head and the tail, like the beginning and the end of perhaps maybe the hunt. Even I thought that was a pretty cool idea.
I just had a thought.
Yeah.
Nikki, if you're still here, put something in the comments to let me know you're still here, because I don't want to say this if you're not still here. But keep going, Sunday.
So that was an idea. And then the Bernheim Bridge emblem, it's kind of weird because it's not on the scenic loop, but it's, clearly it's there in the park. Oh, she said something. She said, why is it always about Kit?
What? I didn't see a comment.
Yeah, Nikki said, why is it always about Kit?
Really? I didn't see it. Hang on. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, Nikki, I probably can't get you the cask back, but if you want, I can probably get you the painting. So if you want it, you let me know, and I could probably make that happen for you. Anyway, can't promise it. It's like 90% sure I can make that happen. Also, it's generally about Kit because he's like gorgeous. Have you
It's like, have you seen that
people,
man?
People get obsessed with Kit.
So
someone who really deserves it should have it. Well, if it's not you, it's going to be me. So it might as well be you.
Might as well be you, Nikki.
Nikki's like, he's okay.
Now I feel bad for saying like a Kit quote. But so he's okay. There's this was in the very beginning when Kit and John did their mysterious writings. And see, I need Daniel to feed us some JM quotes.
I found something cool. Speaking of John, I gotta go get it though. So you just talk to these people, and I'll go get the thing, and then I'll be right back.
Very cool.
Because I thought I'd lost these.
So way back when Jam and Kit did the Mysterious Writings interview about the tribute, someone asked Kit what was the most important thing they needed to know. And he said, you need to know world history. There's a narrative behind the painting and the verse, and it references figures, authors, and significant places and people throughout the world and over the lifespan of the United States. So that is a big chunk. I mean, that's a lot. So I don't know, like if you're looking at Cherokee specifically, you could have the Viking ship, which is like the Norse were the first to come to North America. And then we did have the Hogan Pavilion, which was a wigwam or a teepee shape. And then of course the park itself is called Cherokee. And then you have Daniel Boone. So those could kind of, I mean, that would count as world history if you're counting the colonization of America via the Europeans coming over to colonize and to take over North America. And then also that kind of parallels the front of the book, the Fair Folk history in the front of the book. Okay, what you got, George?
Oh, I found the VIP pass from when me and John first met.
Aw.
Yeah, I kept it and I couldn't find it, and it was in like a little box thing I had. But I also have like his pass from another one. But it's not. I didn't put it in this bag, so it's still in the box. Yeah, I couldn't find it after I moved,
Yeah.
and I found it
Oh,
the
that's
other day.
so cool. I
Yeah.
love that.
So that was the first time we met, like in person. We knew each other pretty
You
well.
got to put it on the wall, man, right
I will
behind
put
you.
it. I will put it on the wall. It's like dirty
Yeah.
and stuff though, and it's
All right.
ambrosia. You can stare at
That's like
ambrosia.
that's patina.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay, that makes it special.
yes.
I wonder if I can clean it off because it's gross. Oh well. Oh, let's see. So what were we talking about? Quotes from Kit or something?
Yeah, I was just saying that Kit gave this big old quote about there's a narrative behind everything, and that it's you need world history. Somebody asked him in the beginning in the Mysterious Writings interview, what do you need to know? Like, what's the most important thing to know? And he said, you need world history. There's a narrative behind the painting and the verse, and it refers to figures, authors, and significant places and people throughout the world and over the lifespan of the United States. So that's a big old chunk. And people have talked about it before, as far as they're like, well, I don't really see that in Cherokee Park. I don't see world history. But I was kind of touching on how, like, the Norse were the first Europeans to come to North America. So you got the Viking ship, and then you've got, of course, like the Native American Cherokee Park. And then if you even wanted to, you'd have like the front of the book tie-in with this is the funniest word, with dingle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Dingle area of the park.
Yeah.
You're about to have 2 guests, by the way.
Yay.
Yeah.
Who's coming to see us?
They're surprises. I'm gonna sit here and try to clean this fucking thing. This was a fun night.
George, there's something new behind you in your room.
Yeah, they just can't see it.
They can see it. It's giant.
It says it won't let her launch. I don't know why. Maybe it's out of time. How long have we been?
No, we've only been going, I don't see a timer, but 15. We've been going about 15.
Well, let me.
You want me to restart?
Yeah, let me restart the room.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Alrighty.
I'll send you a link. This is fun. This is fun, everybody. Super fun.
Recording in progress.
It is. I don't know if it kills the room after a certain amount of time where like other people can't join. I never thought to check that because that's what a professional podcaster would do, and I'm not that. But look, people are coming in, so boom. It's Ryan.
Hi.
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 Hey, Sunday.
Hey, Ryan.
How's it going?
Great. How are you?
Doing great. Life is good in Kentucky today. That's all I'll say.
Nice.
Yeah.
And look, Nikki's here, but she's muted.
Gosh. I'm fangirling a little bit.
Look, it's Nikki.
Hi.
She's a Floridian now.
Hi. I am.
Oh, very cool.
How do you like it
Also
here?
about love it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Weather's warm. And,
I tried to convince John to move down here, and he was like, "No."
Yeah,
Alright, whatever,
I
man.
can see that. I can see that. Yeah.
So everybody tell Nikki your favorite things about John, and then we'll all have a good cry.
Aw.
Probably. It hasn't been a while. So maybe I'm due for a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we all are. I was trying to clean off my thing. I got it almost clean. These guys are assholes. Have you ever met these guys? Ambrosia?
I didn't know if you were talking about me and Ryan.
I thought you were talking about us.
No, Ambrosia.
I was like, dang.
These guys are huge assholes.
No, I've never actually met them.
Like the lead, so the keyboard player, drummer guy, he is fucking awesome. He's like punk rock as shit. But the lead singer, his girlfriend, I thinks they're Dave Grohl or thinks they're the Foo Fighters or something. Like, because it's nuts how like I went up because John got me a not to that show but to another one in Charleston or somewhere. Anyway, it doesn't fucking matter. He got me a ticket to see them, and I was using their it was a band pass. Like I was in the band. I could just go backstage and drink all their beer.
Lucky you, because
Yeah.
he gave me a band pass once, and I was turned away.
I didn't look like Britney
And-
Spears though.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
um
I needed to look more like the undead
well
to
so
get in there. Yeah, right.
to thank the band for letting me use it, I like brought them alcohol. And it was Brett went too. It was me, Brett, and JM. And I brought them like this bottle of Tortuga. It's stuff you can only really get overseas. It was really, really good rum. And I stood in their merch line and I was like, I just want to say thank you. And as soon as I said that, the lead singer's girlfriend was like, did you buy merch? And I was like, no. And she was like, to be in this line, you got to buy merch. To get anything signed, you got to buy merch. I was like, I don't want anything. She's like, go get out of the line and go buy merch. I was like, all right, whatever. So I just kind of left, and then me and Brett drank their rum backstage. So yeah, huge assholes. At least the girl is. I don't know. The guys could be nice.
Well, Nikki, I have your brother to thank for all of my friends. Basically, this whole like creating this whole thing where, you know, we all hang out and talk and do this kind of thing. And yeah. So
I have him to thank for a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I have him to thank mostly for coming to my rescue when he didn't need to, and he did. And he definitely changed my life for the good at the time. But like going through his place and like trying to like determine what was important and what wasn't was
really hard.
kind of hard, because he never let me into, like, I asked him like several times, like, hey, like, what's this all about? Like, what do I need to know? And he was always like, I'm too deep into it. If you want to get involved in this, you got to ask somebody else, because I'm not going to steer you down the right road. And I remember there was a time that he was like, Nikki, do you have 3D glasses? And I'm like, yeah, we went to the movie theater like a week ago. And he was like, no, I need like the old paper ones that like you can't buy anymore. And I was like,
Yeah, the legit.
no, nobody has those anymore. Like, good luck. And he went to this, it was called the Science and Surplus store. And he went there and they have like all this like old stuff. And he found his glasses.
I sent
But he
him a
was like,
pair, too.
this did nothing for me. Like, I didn't find anything that I was looking
Aw.
for. So, yeah. But, no,
So
he was
what's-
a good dude.
What's cool is like you tell that side of the story, but I know the other side, like why he wanted those glasses. And like I remember when he was searching for them, and I went out and I bought a DVD copy of Friday the 13th Part 5 or whatever, because it was in 3D and it came with the glasses, and I had to send it to him.
He asked me for so many like strange things, and I was always like, just because I have kids does not mean that is something that I own.
Yeah.
But because my kids are like older, you know, like he always assumed that like I had whatever it was that he needed. And I was like, no, but try again. Love you, brother, but no, not something that I have. No.
So you still don't know anything about this thing that he was into, do you?
No, I actually decided to, with everything, I knew his music life and his music friends, but I never knew that side of him. And he never let me in because I feel like he felt like he was in so deep that if I tried to just start now, like at 40, like how am I gonna do that? Like and he I think he just didn't want to like basically spend the time trying to teach me because he was in so deep with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess a part of me is kind of happy because I feel like I went down a fairly bad trail with everything else. And adding that to it probably would have made it a little bit harder, but I do love to listen to you guys talk about him and how like influential he was to you
Yeah.
guys. So I do chime in every once in a while, not too often because I don't want to make it about that.
You can make it
'Cause I
about
know that
John
you
anytime you want.
because I want you guys to make it about what you're looking for. And I wish I knew more. All I have is a computer, and to be honest, I haven't opened it in a year.
We really need to back that thing up, by the way.
My son did.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he backed his entire computer up, but there's so much on it. Like you don't understand how much of both sides of his life are on this computer. And I was asked recently to open it up and try and find a recording for the undead for the Misfits.
Mm.
And I didn't want to go down that road just because I've been like okay for so long now that I didn't want to go down that road. But in the same sense, like I would love to find what they're looking for. It's a
Yeah.
video. They're looking for a video or a recording, not a video, a recording of a song. And I know it's been 3 years. It's been probably 3 years. That's my daughter, like pushing barbecue sauce, by the way. On yes, there she is. She's squishing barbecue sauce.
Hi person I've only ever seen in pictures.
Well, no. Guess what? Now you've seen her in video. There she is.
What's up?
But yeah, like there's still like I went through so much of his computer.
Do you still have his like shitty broken iPad?
I have everything.
All right. Because that was where a lot of his secret stuff was. Like, or at least as far as I know, most of his scripts and stuff were on that shitty broken iPad.
Yeah,
I don't know if he ever got rid of it, but I remember it was shitty and it was broken.
I know, no, there was an iPad, I remember. And I remember I was like, I couldn't turn it on.
Yeah.
Like, it was so old. Like, no matter how hard I tried, like, I couldn't get anything to come on.
Yeah.
You probably
Yeah,
had
I
to
remember
hook up the
for
right
Christmas
way,
one
push the
for Christmas
button.
one year I was like, I'll just send you a Surface, like a Surface tablet. He was like, I got an iPad. It's like, dude, it's like 12 years old. Like, and it's
Yeah,
broken.
no.
Get another one.
That sounds about right. Yeah. No,
He's
but
like, I know how to use this. It's like, okay.
yes, sounds exactly like him. Like this is what he knows. This is what he's gonna stick with. Like, is what it is. But no, he has a lot. on there to still go through. I just haven't. It's terrible. I know, like it's been 3 years, but like it's hard for me to
Well, if you
open that damn
ever
thing up. It is so
if you
hard. And
if you ever get to the point where you can, there's a bunch of podcast episodes that were never released, and if you find them, I'll
oh, I
release
know.
them. There should be a lot of them in there. There should.
I've
I can think
gone
of like
through a lot.
4.
Nice.
I was like literally like consumed by it because like I don't think he had any more storage on the damn computer.
Probably not.
Like and it's an old computer.
I used to
It's so
piss him
old.
off. I used to piss him off so much with those podcast episodes because he was so meticulous. Like he was professional when it came to recording. And he was like, if we're gonna do a show, we're gonna do it like an NPR show or something, and it's gonna be scripted. And like he would spend a month writing out this like 15-page script, and he would give it to me, and he would be like, he would read his part of the script, and then he would be like, he would ask me a question, and he'd get to the part where I had to read, and then he would realize like I haven't even looked at this fucking thing. I just start going off.
You
And
had
he would
one
get
job,
so
George.
pissed
One
off.
job.
That's why in the first episode of the Secret, we're talking about Cleveland. He's like, George, do you have anything to say about that? And I was like, nope. But I did. I had like
Oh.
2 or 3 paragraphs I was supposed to read.
That's,
How'd you make it to the second episode, George?
He got upset and he was like, are you, well, he kept going, you got to read the script. And I was like, okay. Just never did.
Aw.
Eventually he
No.
stopped. I think it got to like Florida. It was like 3rd or 4th episode where he was like, all right, I'm just going to make bullet points. I was like, okay, I cannot read those too.
his intros and monologues were always like clutch. I always felt like those early episodes were like really what helped brought me in when I was listening for the first time. It just kind of really encapsulated everything, and I love that.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny to hear you say that like you were completely the opposite, but knowing you, I can kind of see how
Yeah.
that's the case too.
I still have some of the
No,
scripts, man.
my-
He wrote
my-
nice stuff for me to say.
My brother was very this is how it's going to be, like conform, like figure it out, like
Yeah.
I'm in
You-
charge.
He was not good at the fly by the seat of your pants
No
strategy.
mm-mm. No, 100%.
Well, now, George, you got to record what you were supposed to say
And then just
and
edit it all in.
together. Yeah, and make it legit.
No, I love it.
Remix.
I love that idea. You should.
I just want some of the raw recordings where he's like yelling at me. Just read what's on the paper.
I
I
wrote it
probably
for you.
I probably have them. And if I didn't have to work the next 2 days, I would maybe consider
Can't
opening it. Everybody keeps,
Nah.
I swear to you, recently, as of recent, everybody has been asking me to open up that computer.
I
Like
wouldn't.
his dad even reached out to me and was like, hey, like, can I have the computer? And I was like, no, I want to give him something. Like I do, but I can't let go of the computer because I haven't gone through it all.
He's got John's
You know, like
mic,
I just-
right? I think he's got John's mic.
Mm,
It was
I don't
a
know
Shure
about
SM
that.
SB53
No.
or something.
No,
It was in the one that was in
gone.
his casket.
No,
No?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't. But I
Do
do
you-
have.
Do you have any
one
of his
thing.
mics? I've got some of his mics. You can have them.
No, I don't have any of his mics. I like it was everything happened so fast and it was hard to handle it all. But I do have one thing of his that I actually do plan on giving away. I'm just not to that point yet, and I guess I feel like I should be to that point, but I'm not.
Yeah, don't put pressure
But
on yourself. You know,
Anybody that knows John, anything about him, oh my God.
You're about to pull out something special, aren't you?
I don't know that I am.
Okay. I don't know where they are. Like I knew where they are, but I don't see them. I have an entire bag of mics that are his. You can have them.
I'm like panicking right now, actually. Oh, I do know where it is. Huh. I just moved recently, so
His mics are probably
not
in the other room.
recently. Not recently, but I moved recent enough that I'm still trying to find where I put everything. Sometimes you got to hide things away because you just need to.
Sunday and Ryan
Now I'm
just sitting there
panicking.
like,
This is pretty special.
so yeah, I got to come to Sarasota. I don't remember how far Sarasota
So anyways,
is from me.
if anybody knew my brother at all, they knew there was one thing that was always on his body.
There were three. There was the jacket, there was the hat, there was the paws. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that jacket. That and the like blue work jacket. You could count on John wearing one of three things: that, the blue work jacket, or the Firefall hat.
Yes, I have that too.
Or the Pawn Stars polo.
I have a bunch of Firefall things that
Those guys were super nice.
he actually, like, he gave my son a bunch of Firefall guitar picks because he was playing guitar for a hot second. And
those guys love your brother. I don't know if you know that. They love your brother. We were going to do this like series of documentary, like short documentaries about prominent hunters. And one of the first ones was going to be about John. And I was like, I don't have anybody outside of the Secret to talk about John. So I sent a message to Firefall, just their Facebook page. And they were like all on board. They were like, we're going to come to Florida at this time. He's like, just come down, record. They were like, we got stories for days. And we kind of abandoned the project, but they love your brother.
yeah, I have I don't actually have a ton of his stuff anymore. I found like 1 million USB drives. Like I'm telling you, probably like 100 of them. And I had my son go through every single one of them. I was like, you need to look or listen to everyone. Like you don't have to listen to the whole thing. Like if it's music, like fast forward, whatever. But listen to every single one. And he did, and he said basically everything was just music and shows and stuff like that. But everything that I have saved so far up until this point are things that basically just mean something to me. Everything else I kind of let go. And my mom was kind of like, you kind of got to let go of some stuff.
Yeah.
But I have this computer in the same spot in Florida as I did in Wisconsin. And it has sat there. I haven't charged it. I haven't looked at it since I've been here. I haven't looked at it in so long, but it was hard to do. It is hard to do. As much as I want to know more into his life and I could find out, like part of me is like, there's things that he didn't want me to know about, like he kept it from me for a reason.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, we are like 12 years apart. So there's a lot of things I'm sure he doesn't want me to know as his little sister. But there's a lot of things that he has told me. And there's a lot of things that I still wonder about till this day, that I have questions about, like, that I won't get into here.
You can if you want. If it involves, if any of it involves me, you can.
No, none of
Or
it
the
involves
secret,
you.
rather.
It doesn't involve the secret. It's more about, things that happened on the day of.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and
I've heard. I think I know where you're going with this. I've heard things.
yeah, I am still 100% there with those things and wish I had answers, but
Yeah, you never will.
probably never will. Yeah.
You gotta let it go. It sucks, but you gotta let it go.
You do, but how do you do that?
I don't know the answer to that question.
There isn't.
If you find out, you let me know.
Yeah, I stopped digging because there was no point. Not that there was no point. There is a point. It's just more so that there wasn't going to be any answers because there wasn't any way to get answers. So I don't know, I guess.
You do have a question if you want to answer it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's the question?
It might make you feel better.
Hmm.
If you could make a JM playlist, just kind of shit that you like to listen to, what would be on it? Besides
It would,
really, really crappy house music.
oh.
I got so excited once that I found a bunch of John's, like, his radio performances online. And I was like, there's just like 60 hours of recordings of John, and it's all shitty house music.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. I wouldn't call it shitty because some of
it's good.
no, I don't want to say some of it's good. I want to say that at the age that I was at, when I listened to that, it was the best thing that I ever heard.
Yeah, but that was probably the
My
jams.
brother used to DJ at this place. It was called The Basement. So I don't know if you know anything about Milwaukee, but there's this place called The Rave. It's where a lot of famous people play.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a hole in the wall place, but not. Like that's the first place, or that's the place that I met. I didn't meet, but the very first place that I ever saw. Let me rewind. My brother, I'm like probably 11 or 12, maybe 13 years old. My brother's like, do you want to go to a show that I'm doing tonight? And I'm like, oh yeah, of course, because I'm like young, and I want to like hang out with my cool big brother. And so me and his girlfriend at the time drop him off at the rave. And we went back later, and he's like, this guy is like an hour and a half late. Like, I don't know, like I'm about to leave. Like, this is stupid. And I'm like, okay, like whatever. Like, we were still having fun because they were playing like shitty music and we were having fun. But he ended up staying, and he's like, okay, he's here, whatever. We're gonna undo the show and then we'll go home. And I'm like, okay. And long story short, I listened to this show and I'm like, oh, I like this guy, whatever, he's cool, whatever. And like, I don't know, a few years later, I was in high school, maybe 8th grade, maybe 9th grade, middle school, high school. And I hear this music and I'm like, I've heard this guy before. Like, this is great. Like, I've heard this guy before. Can't remember his name. I have no idea who he is. And it's on the radio and they're like, oh, this is Eminem. And I'm like, okay. And then A few
You've
years
told
later,
me.
I'm like, go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead. I'm sorry. It can wait.
A few years later, I'm like, oh my God. Like it just like dawned on me. I'm like, I'm at Eminem. Like I know I've seen Eminem before he was Eminem. Like this is like cool. Like, whatever. My brother hated him. He was like, he's late. He was an asshole. Like we like spent way too much time on him. And I'm like, years later, I'm like, John, oh my God. I saw Eminem before he was Eminem. And this was like my like time frame. This is my years of like this was Eminem's like high point where everyone's like, oh my God, I love Eminem. And I'm like, oh my God. Before he was Eminem, I saw Eminem. And I was like so stoked about it. Like I was so stoked. And like my brother still probably till this day would have been like, I fucking hated that guy. Like I wanted to go home and here I am waiting on this guy to show up and whatever.
Yeah. The best thing John ever did to me or for me was music wise, was introducing me to Styx. So you're the lucky one here. I just like you've told me that story before, but you never told me the name of the club. And now that you did, I understand an Eminem lyric because he's got this lyric where he's like, I get out of bed, shave, go to the rave, die from an overdose, and dig myself up out of my grave. And I always assumed he just meant some rave, but no, he's talking about a club. Okay.
The rave. Yep. But no, now I feel like I ruined your
No, you're fine. So
night.
Eminem wouldn't be
And-
on the playlist.
No, Eminem would not be on the playlist. 100% first person that I can think of that would be on the playlist would be
The Guffs.
the Bodines.
Oh, the Bodines?
Oh, the
choice.
Guffs.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a choice. It's yeah. The Guffs or the Bodines. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One or the other. I mean, one of his best friends was Gorn. I don't know how to say his last name, but he does music now on his own. But yeah, like Gorn was from the Guffs. I don't know why I didn't think of the Guffs first. I don't know. But you're right.
John-
The Guffs probably would have been the first on his list. Second,
John went to bat for the Guffs. Like I remember
know.
one of the members for the Guffs was getting in trouble for something, and John just went like nuclear for the Guffs.
Actually, I take that back. I think that the number one musician, I don't want to say group, or I can reference the groups, but I want to say probably the number one musician on his list would be Bobby Steele. And he is from
typo negative, right?
Nope.
That Bobby Steele? No. What the hell am I thinking of?
He was originally from the Misfits. Now he's from the Undead. And that is where he got his start.
Peter
Bobby
Steele.
Steele.
Peter
Bobby
Steele's typo
Steele.
negative, sorry.
Bobby Steele gave him his start. Bobby Steele gave him the opportunity to do what he loved. And my brother, I love the story, and I don't want to give the story wrong, and I might, but from my understanding is that John was a teenager, and he got in touch with the Misfits. The Misfits. And Bobby Steele was one of the Misfits. And he kept like hounding him. He's like, I want to do a story, or I want to do a show for you. I want to do a show for you. Like, give me the chance. I want to do the show for you. And he was like, okay, you know what, whatever. Like, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do like to set something up. And my brother set up this like big show. And I want to say It was in Indiana, but I might be wrong. It's been a while since I heard Bobby and his wife Diana tell me the story, but he put on this like big show for them, and after that, it was like balls to the wall. Like he was like setting up shows for them and like doing like their sound and doing everything for them. But I believe 100% that he got his start with the Misfits, with Bobby Steele, giving him the opportunity to show what he had. And still to this day, I'm looking for a show that they did many years ago that they're looking for. But it takes me opening up that computer and searching through all the files for me to find it. But he
I know
loved
he
them,
had
and
he had a lot of Misfit stuff that no one had ever heard before.
I have a cassette. It's like an original cassette of the Misfits that I will not let go. And I've never listened to the Misfits. I've never listened to the Undead.
What?
I don't know.
I mean, you've heard the Misfits. You probably just don't know you've heard the Misfits.
Maybe I have, but
They have like the most offensive song ever written. I'm not going to repeat
I
the
wonder if
lyrics
I can
because I'll get
find
kicked
that
off.
cassette. I don't know what I did with it. I know I have a box. Since we moved, I have a box that I still have yet to unpack, and it might be in there. But I found it like it was laying out somewhere. So clearly he like it was important to him. And that's why I kept it. Not that I have a way to listen to that said cassette. I mean, obviously like the internet, but like I'd saved it, and maybe one day um I'll meet them all, and they can
There's going
sign
to be
it
a
for
lot
me.
of them. Misfits went through some changes. But yeah.
But I do know that like I know that the Undead has been having, I don't know if I want to say concerts, but they've been doing some shows. Just because I follow Diana Steele on Facebook, but they're wonderful people. Like they're amazing people. They reached out to me after everything, which I loved, and I got to listen to like so many stories, and I loved the story about hearing about John, how he kind of got his start with music. And to be honest, I'd actually love to hear it again, just because I heard it, but it was at a time of like chaos, you know?
Yeah, you didn't register.
Yeah, so that's why I said I'm not 100% sure on the story, but like I'd love to like even just spend a day with them, just so I can know. Like I've seen like they send me pictures. They've sent me pictures of John and them, and like shows that he's done and all that. And I love that Diana still kind of keeps in touch with me, and like obviously he meant something to them because she wouldn't, if he didn't. But
Yeah. Oh, that's the wrong band. I was looking to see if the Undead's touring, but they're not.
I swear I thought I saw something about them doing some shows, but it might just be like local, like New York,
Yeah.
New Jersey, maybe. So I don't
Uh-oh.
know for sure, But
Oh, Bobby Steele. Let's see. Oh, no. Oh, that's like a list of all of their shows ever. Okay, that's not going to work. Never mind. Yeah, I don't see anything. I know,
think it
like,
may just be on the
John,
Facebook page.
it was so cool when John found out that Destiny, my stepdaughter, was getting into like metal and stuff, and punk. He sent her a bunch of undead stuff, like a t-shirt, like an old t-shirt that I almost don't ever want her to wear, but she wears it. Rachel wears it a lot too. It's weird. And he did he was doing a show with Ambrosia once, and he was like, there's going to be a secret band, and they're testing out their new album, and they're opening for Ambrosia. And I was like, oh, okay, that's great. Like, who's going to open for Ambrosia? And it ended up being the Foo Fighters.
Oh my God. I
And
have guitar picks.
so do I. Yeah, he
From-
sent me a bunch of guitar picks. I was like, that's cool. You got to meet Dave Grohl, who opened for Ambrosia, for God's sakes.
There's a question in the comments about do you know if Jim ever did shows in Vancouver, British Columbia?
I don't think so. But that means nothing because him and I, we moved around a lot. But wherever we were, if we were close, we always got together. No matter like I was in Colorado, I lived in Colorado, he did a show in Colorado. So we,
Yeah.
got together, same as like West Virginia. He was traveling with the Bodines and I was living in West Virginia at the time, and we got together, and it was only actually a few hours because they were sleeping and he needed something to do for a while. So, I picked him up, but I honestly don't recall of him ever doing shows there. But don't get me wrong, that
Did he even have a passport? I don't ever remember him leaving the country.
I don't really think he would have had one.
I don't remember him ever leaving the country. But
I
I
don't
didn't know
either.
him that long, so I only knew him for like 4 or 5 years. It's not.
No. I want to say no. No.
But you can imagine it was John, because it's a good memory.
We had a lot of good memories. We had a lot of memories. Just, I was the little sister that always wanted to follow her big brother around, and he was actually the big brother that wanted to drag his little sister around. So we have some good Thanksgiving memories too every year. We had a memory every year for Thanksgiving.
My memories are all complicated. Just complicated memories with John.
Jessica said thanks for answering. And Jessica, do you know what the band was? I'll read the full question, but she said, did he ever go to Vancouver or British Columbia? I'm asking because I may have met him once. I had a 2-hour conversation at this place called The Moose, which is a metal bar, and Lemmy used to go there, and his name was John, and he told me all about the sound and lighting that he did and was super cool. And when I learned about JM, I thought of this person that I had randomly met.
That sounds like him, but to be honest, George, you're right. Like, I don't think that he ever had a passport. Unless he like somehow snuck into Canada, which
Also, like, as much as John was like in bars for work, he didn't really hang out in bars.
No, he didn't. No. Like he used to DJ at this. So the rave. Let's talk about the rave. When I was probably 16, the rave had what was called the basement. It was the basement of the rave, and it was an underage club. And I used to go every Friday until they turned it into an 18 and older club. but I still went because my brother was a DJ. But he always, I don't know, he always was the big brother. Like it didn't matter. Like he wanted me to be there, and I always wanted to be there. I was the little sister that loved her big brother and wanted to be there, and he was the big brother that always let me in. I probably shouldn't have been there. I 100%, there's a lot of nonsense that happened there, and I probably shouldn't have been there, but my mom was like, oh, it's your brother.
Yeah, it sounds like you kind of had the best of both worlds where you got to go and enjoy it, but then you also had literally your big brother right there with you, watching
Oh,
out.
yeah.
You had the good experience though. Like when John wasn't working, he wanted like we would hang out. But when he was working, he absolutely did not want me there. He was like,
no,
I gotta
it
do
was
this
very
show.
different.
Just go eat, go do something backstage. Go drink a beer. Leave me alone. I was like, but I want to push the buttons, John.
Had you read the script, he probably would have let you push the
True.
button, too.
That's
I
true. That's
agree.
probably true.
I agree with
Little
that.
more
100%. He probably would have.
Well, damn.
I got to push the buttons.
I could have solved all of my problems in the future if I had just read the script.
You had one job, man.
Oh, well.
No, he was a good dude. He was a good big brother. I mean, he moved to Milwaukee. He moved back to Milwaukee, the place that he hated the most, to take care of me. So,
He hated
was-
Milwaukee?
yes, he did.
Oh. That's,
George, it sounds like you two had another thing in common.
yeah, I also hate Milwaukee.
No, he didn't want to be here. He hated it here.
I knew he didn't want to live there because he seemed to
No.
do everything that he could to avoid living there.
No, he moved home for me. He came home. I was by myself. My kids were with their dad, and I was home alone, and I had a bunch of health problems, and he came home to take care of me. Like, I remember I was having like so many stomach issues, and he's like, I'm gonna make you a meal. He's like, it's gonna be fine. And he makes me like this food, and I'm like, what is this? It was like it wasn't tofu, but it was like some version of tofu. And I'm like, like, this is disgusting. Like, why are you making me this tofu shit? And then he made me, like, knowing that I hate Brussels sprouts, he's like, I'm gonna make you Brussels sprouts. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah, he had his Brussels sprouts.
No, I didn't want to make him feel bad for making me Brussels sprouts, so I ate the Brussels sprouts.
That's love.
He's probably like, Nikki, I'm used to microwaving burritos at gas stations. I'm trying.
No, at this point in his life, he had just moved from like he had been in California for several years, so like that's what I like assumed it came from, because he was like super skinny and like super healthy, and I'm like, this isn't you. But
No.
yeah,
I
he made
can't
me
see
like,
John embracing the California lifestyle at all.
no, but he did, and he came and he made me, God, I cannot remember what the name of it is, but it's in the tofu section, and he made me this like meal of this tofu stuff and Brussels sprouts. And I still to this day try to find somebody who can make Brussels sprouts as good as he did. Like, I didn't even know I liked them because I never actually tried. I just assumed that I didn't like them. So, but me feeling bad that he made me Brussels sprouts and didn't want to not eat them, I ate them. And he he was like, so what did you think? Whatever. And I was like, but I really meant like it was good. But part of me wanted to tell him like it wasn't good, because in my mind I didn't like it, but I actually did. So whatever. But no, like still to this day, I have yet to meet somebody that can make Brussels sprouts the way he did. I don't know what he did. I have no idea. I wish I did now, but I have not made them ever in my life, nor do I like foresee that happening because I'll never know exactly how they were made by my brother. So
They're really good if you saute them. If you make them like with some like bacon. Well, I mean,
that's making
like
it totally unhealthy.
Yeah, the point, like to
bacon
make good
grease,
food, to make
bacon,
healthy
and-
food good, you have to make it unhealthy.
Yeah, you got to make it to where you can't taste the Brussels sprout. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
They're really
roasted them in the oven.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I it's probably not going to happen. It was a one and done, I guess. I don't know.
Oh,
All right,
God.
I'm gonna let you guys go because I've been like sitting here with this Hardee's um mushroom and Swiss burger that I've been dying to eat, and it came just as I logged in.
Let me Google something real quick before you go.
Okay.
Let me find out because I got to go to Sarasota soon, and I don't know how far you are from Sarasota.
Oh, I'm not far.
Oh, okay. Well, when I go to Sarasota, I'm gonna bring you some stuff. If you want it. I got, like I said, I got some of John's mics, and other stuff. So,
All right.
oh yeah, you're only like an hour, and you're north, so I got to pass. Okay, I got to pass through.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Everything from where I live is an hour. Anything good, except for Tampa. But depending on traffic, everything's an hour. Like
Yeah.
I have to take my daughter to school. It's an hour. Like I'm not even joking about
It's
that.
Florida.
Like,
Welcome to
real.
Florida.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus,
Mhm.
you're
It's
in
been
the
great.
you're in the crappy area from Florida for driving.
No, it's all old people.
Yeah.
Well, yes, driving, yes, 100%. It's awful. Like I have never, like I'm trying to teach my daughter how to drive in a place that doesn't know how to drive.
Yeah.
Like it's awful.
Yeah.
And it's
You got to come up
just
north,
old-
man. It's like NASCAR up here. You
It
have
is
to go
all
fast.
old
You just get
people
the
here.
hell out of the way.
No, it's all old people. Like I am with old people all day, every day. So, um, we get on 75 and we're like, will you go the speed limit? I'm not asking for anything more.
Yeah.
Just please go 75
And then
miles an hour.
you get on 95 and you're like, why are you going the speed limit?
Right. Completely different. It's not the same. Like your half of Florida and my half of Florida are not the same. And whatever's in the middle is nonsense. Like
weird, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's like
Like-
you've got the old people snowbirds. We got the rednecks, and it's just tourists in between.
Yes, all tourists in between. Yes, I agree with that. Like I don't even like I had to take my daughter to Orlando for a friend of hers had a dance competition, a friend of hers from Wisconsin. And so I took her to see her friend. And you hit that one stretch of 4 where you're like, are we actually going to get there? like we are stopped. When are we going to move again? Why does 4 exist? We should have 4 4s,
Yeah.
or at least 45 lanes of 4, because everybody's going to Disney. Like
Yep.
it was.
You got to learn
Awful.
how to schedule that. You got to go in between
Well,
opening and closing.
that was my fault because I was like, I take my daughter to school every day and then I work every weekend. So I was like off the weekend. So I just wanted to sleep in. So I was like, we'll go whenever I wake up. That was my fault. 100% my fault, because had we not left at 11 a.m., we probably would have gotten there at a better time.
Yeah.
So that was my fault.
Oh, well.
No.
Well, thank you for coming on and talking about John. You're welcome to do this anytime. Crash any stream.
That was
I I loved
Do you,
it. It's been a long time since I've actually like been able to
do
talk
you
about him. So
do you have any thoughts about the tribute? Did he tell you anything? Like, did he tell you if he don't tell me if he told you any insight and stuff, but did he tell you if he liked it? Did he tell you if he was enjoying it?
he was obsessed with it, and that's exactly his words. He was obsessed with it. He needed to walk away from it for a while, but he couldn't.
Yeah.
So
We had that conversation too. I still think
So,
that's
yeah,
what I still think that's what got John mad at me initially. Don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure.
he wanted so badly to walk away, and he just felt like he was in too deep that he couldn't. And you know what? As much as he said that he wanted to walk away from it, if he wanted to walk away from it,
He
he
would
would
have.
have done it.
Yeah.
So
I remember.
I honestly believe it was something that he loved and enjoyed. And I mean, I feel like maybe after The Secret and starting the tribute, I think that kind of consumed him.
Yeah.
But I honestly believe like
My
he was
dog is
in
snoring.
so long and so deep that he couldn't walk away from it,
Yeah.
but at the same time he didn't want to. So
Yeah. I remember like so we did the first 12 or 13 episodes of the podcast, and he was about to release the tribute, and he had made a plan that he was going to stop working on The Secret because he said he desperately needed a break. And he was like, I'm just going to walk away and focus on the tribute. And he was like, you can have the podcast. And it was like the next day, this dude named Calazars sent a message to the podcast group and was like, hey, we want to do a show on The Secret, and we want to talk about the tribute. And I messaged them back, and I was like, well, John's not doing the podcast anymore. I'm more than happy to talk about The Secret with you, but if you want to talk about the tribute, you're going to have to get in touch with, you're going to have to ask John to talk about the tribute. And John got so pissed. He was like, you're cutting me out of my show or something. I was like, dude, you said like you were leaving. I don't understand. And things were never the same after that. So
yeah, he when he had something in his head, it was
hard to get it out.
solid. Yeah.
Hey, Nikki, I have a
But
question for you. It just kind of hit me. You talked a lot about John and your memories with him, and I've kind of like related that. Like I have an older sister, right? That's like 20 years older than me. But like our relationship is very separate, right? Because 20 years is not 12. But like where are you personally with the whole tribute hunt? Right? Like do you look at it and you say, I actually would rather it not ever be found because there's a piece of John buried in Kentucky somewhere? Or do you prefer like let's let it be found because he buried it to find it and then there's some closure there? Like where do you kind of sit on that?
I feel like it's a game, and the game has to be ended at some point. There's a reason why it was made a game, you know. If he didn't want anybody to find it, he would have told you he hid it, and it'd be in my bedroom right now, and I'd be telling you guys, oh yeah, go like hunt for this thing.
It's in Arizona.
Dig in the desert. Yeah.
Right. It's somewhere. It exists. It whatever. But I am 100% oblivious to any of it.
Mm.
All I know is my brother. And he was a man of strategy, I guess. I don't want to say strategy for lack of a better word, but it's a puzzle that needs to be solved. And if the tables were turned and it was you that hid something, he would have spent his lifetime trying to find it. So it may be hard. It may be in London? I don't know. Like
Well,
the
there is a
clues can
London
be
in Kentucky
completely
as well, so I mean that kind of works out.
See,
could be somewhere
I've always been the opposite of
completely
that. I've
wrong.
always been like, I don't, as long as it's not solved, somebody's talking about John. But I get where you're coming from. Like, I get it.
No, I get
I
that
just,
too, George. I get that too. I get that maybe like
but I think
it
John
gets
would,
lost within.
he would not approve of my way of thinking. John would be
No,
like,
I
no,
agree.
let him find it.
No, I agree.
Hmm.
Um,
I just think that helps people, right? Like knowing that, because I think, if you or anyone, like there's a large group of people that are out here probably watching or doing things in the community, and they'll go and dig and do whatever no matter what someone says. But then there's a pretty good core group, I think, too, as well, that are like, hey, like if we're gonna find this and we feel like John wants it found, then we'll go for it. Or if it's like, hey, we feel like John wants, or the family wants, like some part of him to still be around and be like in the park, then they would stop. I think,
a
there's a
part of
lot.
him is in the park.
Yeah. Oh, the bench. Yes. The bench.
So,
Yeah.
he would want it to be found. He hid it for a reason. He told nobody for a reason, and yeah, he wouldn't want something to be not finished. So even if finishing it finishes his existence, then you know what? It
I don't
is
know
what
if
it
that's how that
is.
works, but yeah. I
I
mean,
don't know
I
that
get,
it'll ever finish his existence, though.
Yeah.
When you talk about the secret, you can't help but talk about John.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, he would want it to be found, and he would applaud whoever found it because I know how his brain is, and he would definitely. Whoever finds this is going to be a genius. Whoever finds this, he has thought this out long and hard. 100%, he has left nothing to the imagination. Like it is what it is. It's black and white. You have to look at it as black and white. John was black and white. Like if he's saying A, B, or C,
Literally.
it's
It's
probably A, B, or C. You're just not looking at it as A, B, or C. You're looking at it as, oh, he's saying A, B, or C, but
it's probably
it's
D.
probably D. Yes. So
All
take
right.
that with a grain of salt, but you know what? It's probably right in front of your face and you're not seeing it. And that's the way he would probably do it.
I don't disagree with that.
So
Cool.
Wow.
that's my 2 cents. I don't really know much more other than, like I said, I know my brother. I love my brother. I love my brother. But stop looking so hard and start looking
Better.
closer to I don't
Choose your words carefully, Nikki.
Start looking
No,
closer to
don't
A,
choose your
to
words
B, or to
carefully.
C.
No one's listening except for us.
everybody's
Friends here.
listening.
Start looking closer to this very specific patch of grass in Cherokee Park.
Listen, all I know
We'll be
is that
there
he's
with a
been
light in 45 minutes. Yeah.
listen, all I know is that he's been arrested many times for digging where he shouldn't.
Well, that's
And
good to
obviously
know.
that got him somewhere. So
Cool.
just follow what your heart says, I guess. Follow your intuition versus looking outside the box. That's what I would say.
Nice.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank
Wow.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go. This burger is like
Yeah, burger.
Enjoy your
Um,
burger.
nom nom.
Thank
I
you
want
for
to eat
coming
the
on.
burger.
This is amazing. Thank you.
It was
You're
a lot of
welcome.
fun.
Thanks for having me. All right.
Well, that was fun.
That's
Wow.
cool.
Yeah. That was really something.
So now we have to go back to talking about the tribute. Okay.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So I came on late. Like, were there anything like big that you guys talked about before I came on?
Nah, I rambled a little, but
Nothing
those were some
crazy.
really good questions, Ryan. Really good.
Yeah. The only thing I heard when I came on, like you guys were talking about Valkyries Window, and I just think that that's a park confirmer. Because if you go down Lexington Road on the backside of the park closest to the fountain,
Oh yeah.
Lexington Road, it takes you to Southern Baptist Seminary, Boys College, and then Sacred Heart Academy.
Yeah.
And Sacred Heart's an all-girls school. It's the biggest all-girls school in the state, and they're the Valkyries. So I think that that's just probably helping get you to a right part of the town,
Could be, definitely.
get you there.
All right.
Yeah. I can't unhear Nikki's advice. And I know that she just threw this out like as an example with the ABC thing. But I mean, geez, it's like we're looking at ABC 1, 2, 3 or whatever, and she's like, yeah, it's probably A, B, or C, and you guys are probably looking for D, and I don't know.
How do you reconcile that, George, with the twist? Because I know you always think that
I mean,
there's a twist into things.
even John, I think at some point has said that there's a twist. So there's gonna be something at the end. There's gonna be something you got to figure out, right? Because it was something like even John struggled to figure out when he went and dug it back up, right? Like he struggled with that. So there's gonna be something. If it was just like dig next to this bench, he wouldn't have struggled.
Right.
There's got to be something. So and I don't think there was a secret puzzle at all where he didn't think there was some sort of weird twist, like in Milwaukee where it was like you finish the verse but then you start all over again or something, or
Yeah, it was like a weird loop.
yeah, or he thought in Cleveland that you had to do everything backwards,
Because of the stones going the opposite way.
Yeah, and there was something in Chicago, I can't remember. It was lining something up with something else and doing something.
Yeah.
But he thought there was like a twist to all of them that you just had to figure out at the end. So if he did this puzzle in the way he thought the secret worked, there's going to be something at the end that you got to figure out, whether it's taking a bunch of stuff that's called out in the verse and sort of lining up by sight. I don't know. I don't know what it would be. I haven't studied this puzzle hard enough for that.
Yeah. Like I know when I first took a look at it, I was like, kind of like everybody, like I knew the Christensen fountain, right? And I knew like, all that imagery, and I'm like, it's got to kind of be around. I was a little familiar with Cherokee Park, but I kind of got into it. And then you're like, okay, cool. You got Scenic Loop. Scenic Loop's got a bike path and a car path. Okay, cool. They're together. They travel around, cross your bridges, do your thing. And I'm like, if you were to just follow the path and cross the bridges and follow the instructions, you're back by that area. There's like a large concrete area. And I'm like, well, it's not going to be like right at that fountain. That's too obvious. It's going to be, somewhere else. And then, slowly but surely, I kind of made my way from like, hey, instead of that being an ending point, that might be a starting point. So like instead of traveling through one way, we kind of are working our way backwards. Like he's giving us where to start, and then you kind of go. And that's kind of helped, I think, where, if you're trying to like be direct, like she was saying, there are some things there where you can really kind of follow through to, piece your pieces. Yeah.
I don't know if Dan's coming in, and we've been waiting My dog is like snoring. I don't know if you guys can hear it.
I
It's
can't hear
crazy.
it.
He's going
I didn't
nuts,
hear
and I'm just watching. I'm watching my mic volume just go.
it.
Brr. It's crazy.
It is
Um,
not coming through.
So the last time we had a talk with Dan, I'll just go ahead and say this now because I'm not sure if Dan's coming back. He had to go to a dinner or something. The last time we talked about the tribute was with Dan, and we left on sort of a end point where Dan didn't realize that the part of the park with the Martian Hill benches was completely changed when they buried. Like the benches weren't even there. I did ask Kit about that because I told Kit, I was like, look, if these benches, like if you have to follow some sort of path with these benches weren't we don't even know where the hell they were. So if they were in a specific spot that's not where they're at now, and John made you go down some path using them, like we're lost. I was like, is the fact that these benches that they've moved, does that mean that this is unsolvable, or does that make it harder? And he essentially said that his public response, which he has allowed me to repeat, is if those benches were moved, it would not affect the hunt at all.
Okay.
Which leads me to believe that those two benches, even though they're really good matches, ain't got shit to do with this puzzle.
Just so mind blowing because, I mean,
I know it's like perfect.
is it? Like, what do you mean? Perfect. Like, it blows my mind because you feel like you get a loop. Like, you go around this park, this loop, right? A scenic loop. And then you get back, and then you find these acrostics in the verse, the Edwin and Olivia. And then, okay, well, does that mean that's they're there, that it's there at those benches or between those benches or one of those benches, or does that just set you down that new path, like you've taken the scenic loop, like Ryan was saying, with the car loop or the road, and then maybe the bike or the walking path, or like Jesus, like it feels like they have to be there for some reason.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
and I want to tell you like what was crazy is like, I saw that and you guys were pulling all that stuff up and I was like, I've never even looked there. Like I know that area because I know that big campgrounds. Like, a lot of people use those and will go for the weekend, just do it. And so like I never had even considered that area and I was like, oh, okay, Marsh Hillside Valley, if those have something to do with benches, like I get it. But part of me also thinks like, isn't that kind of perfect for The Secret? Like there's so many things that people find that are like, it has to be this. And
Yeah.
then it's like, no, it was like this over here. We had no idea that, and things match. I think it's kind of weird when like stuff that you find in one puzzle, there's some similar stuff in another puzzle that like matches, and it's like, how did all that just randomly happen? Um, but that's kind of cool. I mean, it's good to know. I mean,
Yeah.
George, would you think that you would like eliminate that area as something to look at?
I don't know enough about the tribute to make that call,
Yeah.
you know? Um, I mean, it's big. Like if those benches don't matter, then they don't matter. They don't matter one way or another, right? Like if moving those benches doesn't affect the puzzle, then those benches don't matter.
Yeah, and that's a good point on both sides, right? Because if they were in a different spot and people were like, "Oh, they used to be over here," and then he's like, "Well, they don't matter." Well, it doesn't matter for that location, and it also doesn't matter for the new location because they weren't.
Right.
Yeah. And I
But
don't know where they were.
are we talking two separate sets of benches though? Because we have people that have like feel like the Marsh and the Hill family bench were important, and they were in the new area that wasn't around when the cask was buried, probably. Um, and then we have the Edwin and Olivia benches. So do we differentiate the two sets, or do we? We're looking at you, George.
Don't look at me. I don't. Number one, I'm having a separate conversation with John's sister, so I'm not paying as much of attention as I should be. And number two, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I obligated to John to not work on this, so
Sure.
Yeah.
there's not a lot that I know. Like my
Yeah.
biggest contribution to this hunt is how John thinks about puzzles. It has nothing to do with like the intricacies of this because I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. What do you think, Ryan? Do you feel like, I mean, did have an excellent point, as, by the way, as far as like just the level of just random coincidence that is found in the world, and you don't really know it until you do like a treasure
Well,
hunt.
like I'll give you a prime example of what I was talking about, right? So like in Milwaukee, right? Right now your leading theory is probably still Lake Park, right?
Yeah.
And everybody and their brother has tried to dig around like in it the Walcott or Westcott like bench, right? Well, like then there's if you look in like Outer Banks, like Raleigh, right? There's a road with like that same name, like right near the baseball field that they looked at, and it's like, how did these things just like happen to merge, right? Or how does stuff in the Milwaukee verse match with Montreal and like, oh, well, this could be here or here, or like hey, sometimes things in New York and San Francisco might, and it's just like, yeah, that's so weird. And then getting back to this one, it's like if there are just benches there, are we looking at coincidence because like Marsh and Hill are pretty common names, right? And then, hey, they just said Marsh Hillside Valley. Like, why did they do that? Right? Because there's no like high schools or, locations that I know of around Cherokee Park or in Louisville that's Marsh Hillside Valley.
Yeah.
Right. Like, there's nothing like locator wise. Right. So those words were either chosen to just be poetic and be on a verse, or they were chosen because he saw that somewhere and that's a way marker to get us somewhere, right? But if George just said, according to like, and were the only benches over in that area the Marsh and the Hill benches? Were those the only two?
No, there
No,
was
there
another
was,
one.
yeah, there was like a set of, gosh, probably at least four, maybe six that were on like a large loop
Yeah.
kind of around the grassy
the-
field.
There was the
Yeah.
one in the bottom of the valley, but it didn't like I forget who it was dedicated to, but it was nothing in the verse.
Yeah, and I think another thing with the secret in general, like where everybody has a problem, is it's not getting to like a location, it's getting to a like
Yeah.
location, right? And so if we're looking at even a field, because there's lots of places in that park that's just, yeah, there's a hill and there's a field and it's just grass, right? Like there's nothing out there. Like, how do we locate that? So I don't know. I kind of think, Sunday, to answer your question, like, if those benches don't matter, if they're all together, then I would say none of them matter. If there's like if there's separation and like, hey, there's a couple benches over here and a couple more over here, then
Yeah.
I would just eliminate one set and I would at least keep my options open on the other side.
Yeah.
Do you know where all those benches are?
Yeah, so two of them, okay, I think I have a little bit, okay, so I'm a little iffy on if Marsh and Hillside are the Marsh and Hill benches. Like I
Mhm.
feel like that's probably a little more of not a stretch, but more of like interpretation versus the Edwin and Olivia benches because they are right next to each other and they're the first two benches in the park. So
Mhm.
like when you head down the walking path from Boone, then you see the Edwin bench, you see the Olivia bench. Like that's, you kind of walk down like a little set of stairs, first along your path, the first two benches, there you go. Whereas like the Marsh and Hillside, I feel like are a little more because one is it's hillside instead of just hill.
Mhm.
So and like you said, Marsh and Hill, they're pretty common last names or whatnot. But those two are also right next to each other, but they're across the park. So this would be after you've turned the curve of like the Hogan Fountain and the Hogan Pavilion where it was.
Yep.
Then you've got a large grassy area, and there's like a large oval shaped walking
Yep.
path kind of through there. And then so marsh and hill were the first two benches that you come up like at the end of the path.
Okay.
So yeah. So
So you're saying the first two benches are like in that spring area, like right in the front of
yeah,
the
the very, very front. And
Yeah.
then Daniel has a really good point on here, and he said, do we know if the marsh and hill benches were ever moved? Or could they have been brand new? Because they were put in after what we think was the date that the cask was buried. All of that construction was going on there in the Bonny Hill Castle area, which is that grassy area where the Hogan's Pavilion is, the playground, and that large oval area. All of that was under construction, and so those benches may have not been there when the cask was buried, but they were there when the verse was put out. So then we
Yeah.
don't, then we're playing with, do we know,
Time frames.
yeah,
Yeah. I think probably then to answer your question would be like the first two benches we talked about, like the Olivia bench or whatever. Like
Yeah.
I would keep my options open with those, right? Because those are in a completely separate location.
yeah,
Because even if like the Marsh and Hill benches were like in the spring area somewhere, like them being moved may or may not affect things. Or like, if they're not part of the verse, then they're not, or part of the solution, then they're just not part of the solution one way or another.
yeah.
It's good. Chuck. Oh,
Yeah. Somebody asked if JM ever knew about the benches. He did. I just
Yeah.
don't think he ever said anything about them.
Yeah. So I'm willing to walk away from the idea of the marsh and hillside being benches, because we have and this was another like Daniel Burke idea, where we have a really good idea of marsh could easily be the Pan statue, because it has like the cattails and the turtles and and those things.
Mhm.
And then the hillside could easily be the Christensen fountain, because that's part of the Viking tradition of burial in the hillside. And then you've got the ship, and it's cut in, the fountain's cut into the hillside, things like that. So that I don't feel like is a stretch at all. So I don't know where that leads us or leaves us.
I'm sorry, I'm not very good conversation. I'm really sad now.
I know. Aw, that was pretty deep. It was pretty deep. Jessica says, what does the monarch represent to you guys? And
Ooh.
I mean,
To me, it represents the monarch butterfly sanctuaries that's in the park.
yeah, I think so.
And if you walk around, like all throughout the park, wherever you go, there's like lots of like green signs that are up, and there's a giant monarch butterfly on the sign. They're in like green and white, I think, but to me, that's like it's another way marker, right? It's like, hey, you need to find places where probably those monarchs are going to be, or like a sign should be or was. You never know if they get taken up or down.
Yeah.
But there's one by the Christensen Fountain. If you walk down a little bit of a ways, there's one right there. Does it mean
That's where I
something
think
different
too.
to you?
It does seem odd that you're looking for what is it? An emblem of bee, and then the bee's got a bee in it, and then there's bees everywhere.
Yeah.
Or the butterfly has a bee in it.
Yeah.
And there's butterflies everywhere. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think too, when you're looking at that spring, we were talking about the spring area, like in concrete, like written in stone is like Bernheim, like you can see it. There's two of those. And so I think, that could be it too,
Yeah.
but one or the other.
Yeah, I think so, easily. Well, we'll just
I'm,
keep talking, George.
I'm sorry. Like my mind. It
It's
sucks.
okay.
It's usually okay when someone comes in and starts talking about John. Like it's usually
Yeah.
okay. But
Well,
when
it's not his sister
when
usually.
Nikki
Yeah.
does it, it's like, oh, now I'm fucking
Yeah.
sad.
You're getting hugs in the
So
comments.
many regrets. Um. Anyway, sorry.
I thought it was beautiful when she said that, because that is a thing that we've talked about in the hunt before is, do we want to work really hard to solve this? Do we want it to keep going? And I thought it was beautiful when she was like, it's a puzzle, it's a game, it's built to be played, it's built to be solved, it's built, yeah. So I thought that was nice. You're getting hugs in the comments, George.
No.
But I don't know. I don't understand. I can't separate the two. I can't separate out Edwin and Olivia. Those benches, just because I feel like, and regardless of what they mean, maybe they mean like sending you back down that path or something. I just can't unsee them, I guess. What do you think, Ryan?
I'm gonna be honest. I've never seen those benches. I've never. I know where you're talking about and what they
Yeah.
are, but like I never have paid attention to that clue with those benches. So the next time I go, it'll be something that I'll look for, just to kind of see where it is, and then just see kind of how that would fit into other things that I think about,
Yeah.
the puzzle and what things mean. Yeah.
Hey, George, can I share my screen?
Yeah.
I'll
You
take
just
us
take
down
me off of the screen.
a quick rabbit hole.
So you take him off the screen, he'll have a good cry.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it's like me and Nikki are talking about like me promising John that I would not look for the tribute. Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Well, you're not looking for it. You're just telling us, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, if you haven't worked on it,
lot
you
of
haven't worked on it. You know.
Indiana Jones twists and
But I mean, I think that stuff kind of helps, right? Like, I mean, it's not finding it, it's not doing anything. It's just like, look, George, like you said, I think even on the last stream, you were like, hey, like one of his really close friends like read the verse and was like, hey, it's here.
yeah.
And then like
And then John said it like, yeah, okay. He was like, yeah.
You're right. He goes, yeah, cool. You know. So the trick is find that guy and then be
Yeah,
like,
right.
"Here, it's
I know
here."
that guy. That guy ain't talking. He ain't saying a word.
Yeah. But it's like it's just like, but like that doesn't, like, you haven't worked on it, right? You're not like looking into the puzzle or being like, hey, how do I solve it? You're just like, look, like here's how the guy thinks. Like I know this, right? Pay attention. It's clearly not helped anybody because we haven't dug it up.
You're not being very helpful.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad about that.
Yeah.
But can I share my screen? It keeps telling me that
Yeah. Oh, I haven't. I'm sorry. We
it's
had
a new. Yeah, it's a new. Ah, here we go.
I
Oh, there you
forgot that I had to. Oh, look, it's Dan.
Yeah, I don't need to share anymore.
Okay. And Dan's here. All right, everybody, it's time to go. Have a good night. Good weekend.
Nice.
Been fun.
I was kidding.
He's still on, just his video's off.
I'm here. Just give me a second. I'm trying to.
Hey.
There we go.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello. Hang on 1 second.
Oh,
No, that ain't gonna work either.
That's okay. It's cool and mysterious.
it's fine.
Yeah.
See, I love it. Right now since COVID, like everybody's become professional lighting people, right? Because
Yes.
they know how they have to be on camera.
What are we talking about?
John's sister came on and made me sad.
Yeah.
So we're not really talking about much of anything.
Have we solved anything yet?
Not yet. We were waiting for you.
We're
Waiting
trying
for
to
me,
solve
huh?
seasonal depression at the moment.
Mm.
See,
How do you have seasonal depression? You're in Florida. It's hot.
It's,
all
Yeah.
year.
it's depression season.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's depression season. No, it's Selection Sunday. It's like a holiday here in Kentucky. I mean, come on, man.
Election Sunday.
Selection Sunday for the
Selection Sunday.
NCAA basketball tournament.
Oh,
Oh, there you
that's
go.
that's the thing
Sports
that
ball.
Kentucky does really good,
Yeah.
oh.
really well.
So didn't a swimmer get like he like made a world record somewhere in Kentucky, and then like they took his medal away from him because he like hugged his friend?
No,
Do you know what I'm talking about?
no, yes. So
Yeah.
he went over into the other lane to hug
Yeah.
his
Oh.
buddy. I think it was his buddy, and they said they DQ'd him.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that was at ACC championships. And I think that was in Greensboro, North Carolina. But the swimmer, he won the mile, which is a long race, right?
Yeah.
Over 1,600 yards, and set a time fast enough to make NCAA championships, right? So you got to be really fast to even make NCAAs. But there's a rule in swimming that you cannot cross out of your lane into another person's lane while the event is still going on. Right. So in most races, like you see in the Olympics a lot, right? Like they'll finish, everybody finishes, the winner gets on the lane line and is like celebrating. No problem with that. Splashing the water, no problem with that. The problem in this race is because it was the mile and because he finished so far ahead, the people in the outside lanes were still racing. And so this is just my opinion. I don't think he would have gotten DQ'd on just like getting up on the lane line and like celebrating. It was at the end when he fell into the other person's lane, which was his teammate, instead of falling back into his own lane. And because of that, that's where the DQ came from. It wasn't for celebrating. It wasn't for, doing any of that. It was just the rule of you can't cross lanes.
Do we
There's
agree
a-
with this? Do we agree?
Dan, I think he's asking you. Or
No, I'm
me?
asking you. Yeah. Do we agree?
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's a rule, right? There's also a rule where in relays, like you can't like bring another swimmer into the water while relays are still going on. So like if a relay were to break a world record or something, they can't all jump back into the lane to celebrate until all the relays are finished and the event is complete.
Yeah.
My swim team in high school lost a regional because of that. So yeah. Fun times.
It's a hard pill for. I mean, it's a sucky way for him to lose,
Yeah.
especially that way. But
Sorry,
rules are rules. So.
Just taking my mind off things for a second. I'm back now. It's fine.
Yeah. Now the untold story on that, George, is that I think he still is seeded 8th at NCAA's. I mean, he doesn't get his best time, but he's still seeded 8th, which is fast enough to make the A final. And if he swims that again when NCAA's rolls around, then
He'll win.
Yeah.
All right.
So George, are
Go
you
that guy.
you seem to be quite the mechanic techie.
I try.
That's cool.
I guess. Did you need me to fix something for you?
No, I work on my own stuff. That's why I compliment. It was a compliment.
Well, like, so my dad, when I was growing up, was a mechanic. So, and we were
Okay.
poor. We were poor. So if you wanted a car, you kind of had to build it, right? And like my first car was a '69 Cougar that didn't run, and we made it run. And then so I learned mechanical stuff from him. But my grandfather, repaired and restored jukeboxes and arcade machines and slot machines and stuff like that. So I learned electronics from him. So I got sort of the best of both worlds.
69 Cougar, did that have 351
It's a Boss 302.
Boss 302? How'd you like to have that car?
Yeah, it got stolen. It happens. I've seen it since then. Like there's a dude, he lives like 2 towns over, that ended up with it. What happened was I put it in a car lot when I moved from Florida to South Carolina. I put it in a car lot to sell it, and the car lot sold it and just never paid me. So the dude bought it with like real money. You know, he never had a title. He had to like construct a title for it. Because I never gave the title over because I never got paid. And then I saw the car a couple of years ago. He's done a great job with it. And I told the guy, I was like, you know, I thought about reporting it stolen, but I didn't. Anyway, yeah. So that's where I learned my mechanical stuff. Growing up poor, you got to learn how to fix shit, you know?
Yeah. So Dan, with the hunt, we were just talking about the benches and how George had asked Kit about the marsh and hill benches over in the area you guys were looking at on the last stream. And he said that those benches don't matter, I believe.
Yeah. He said that if those benches were moved, they do not affect the hunt in any way. It would not that they don't affect the hunt. If those benches were moved, it would not affect the hunt in any way. Which leads me to believe those benches don't matter at all.
It does make it seem that they don't sound like they are a marker.
No.
Like dig here.
Like it's got to be a coincidence. It's a big ass coincidence. But if I could take those benches and move them anywhere I want in the park and it doesn't affect the solve, then they can't matter. You know? It's
I was about ready to go pull construction prints because I wanted to see, like, I wanted to try. I've been working on like compare like what did that area of the park look like before, and obviously, you know, we know what it looks like after, but what did it look like before? What changed? What didn't change?
My thought is, with all of that construction there, those 2 benches being the biggest marker for that area, and if they don't matter, in my opinion, I would just throw that area out. But that's just my opinion, man.
I'm kind of with George. I would probably throw that area out too.
What the heck is the X? You know, what puts the X on the map?
Yeah.
There is one idea that, and I know I just keep saying, like, you know, other people's really good ideas, but one really idea that I could not get out of my head, and this was Sean Cronin's idea, but he said if you take the 4 benches that have been theorized to be part of the hunt, and you take what is it, Marsh? Okay, so you take Hillside, you take Olivia, you take Marsh, and you take Edwin. If you take an acrostic off of that, then you have the acrostic HOME. So, I mean, I thought that was a pretty decent idea. Like, as soon as he said it, I was like, holy cow, that could be, you know, a second acrostic of the reason why it's important to find all clues, because then you need to build something new out of them, was pretty interesting. And if you take home, I mean, there's one giant home in Cherokee Park, or there was before it was tore down anyway, with Hogan's Pavilion as the design of the teepee. And so that's kind of an interesting idea. I thought,
who's calling Sunday? Is it important?
I don't know.
Is
No, it didn't even pop up.
Turn them on.
But I really liked that idea, and it got kind of more interesting for me when let me see if I can share my screen yet. But so if you think of kind of Kit's comments from the last one, where he said someone asked him on the Calazar stream, can you if you get all the clues correct, can you just walk it like a path up to the spot? And he said, well, I don't know if it's more of a path versus a assembly. And that was a really interesting idea as far as assembly. I don't know if you guys can see the screen.
They can.
You can't. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So let me go down to this one quick idea and then so we have, just ignore the preliminary sketch, but we have the painting and you have this gigantic home in the painting. And then if you go to, let me find the right one. Sorry, it's probably at the top. Probably already passed it. Okay. Something kind of interesting that was in both the preliminary and the new painting was this sort of posturing of the central figure. It kind of mimics a little bit of the Pan statue, but you could have like the dog, the figure, and the home right behind it. It would be a teepee in the park, whereas it's a regular facade or a brick home facade in the painting. But I thought that idea was kind of interesting with the crossing of the benches.
All I know is we are in the right vicinity of this thing. It's putting the X on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said, Dan, before you came on. It's not about finding like the location. I think like we're in the area, right? Within 200 feet, right? But like, how do we get it down to like, where we can put like a probe in the ground or something and, hit the top of it?
Yeah.
That's the hard part, without just like blindly just going through everything and just.
I just wonder how many, like, there's been a lot of good ideas, but like we were talking about earlier in the stream, I wonder how many of them have been checked, before people just go off to the next one. I mean, I bet, because Kit's even said, like, he's read stuff in the groups, and I think this was before John even passed, where he was like, oh, they're going to find it, like, they're right on top of it, and then it's just like, it gets abandoned.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll say, like, even with my area, like, I've probed that area several times. I've probably gone like 8 times, but like, I haven't found anything other than a pipe. I found a pipe, like a plastic, like PVC pipe, and I quickly stopped probing around that area. But it's like in the back of my head, I'm like, well, did I miss this one space? Did I happen to just randomly go around it and miss the one spot? Right. And I'm sure like, and that's honestly, George, a fear that I have of even the like original puzzles is that people have been around to it and gone, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, like you guys, you said you guys gone to Raleigh and you've gone on a baseball field and kind of poked around, right?
Yeah.
And like you say, like, oh, hey, I left no stone uncovered, but like maybe you were 1 inch away from it, and then if you had probed over, it's like, and I just honestly think that that's just like a true and honest fear, where like if it was 87 and you had done that, and then you'd been like, hey, this is where I'm at, this is what I did, and then they'd be like, yeah, like, why, and you just never know.
Yeah.
You have to remember that John went back and dug this up.
Yeah.
And had trouble.
So,
and
he
trouble.
did have a little bit of trouble, but he did get it, which does mean there's somewhat of a marker.
Yeah, you have to get close enough somewhere.
No, it does concern me that it did take him a little bit. It's not like, a corner of let's just say a bench, and he put it on the right corner, right in front of the, so he knew exactly, he himself should know exactly where he put it. And then it took him a while to find it. Makes him like, well, maybe, the marker is a little more subjective, or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about how you might have to line a couple of things up. or dig in the middle of a couple of things, you know? I don't know. It's definitely not right next to something, though.
So the construction in that area of the park for the pavilion is, so early November was there was a celebration there, an unveiling of it. So it was probably completed sometime mid to late October.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
So when did we all think John hid this?
I'm not telling, but it would be affected by construction. Like it was buried.
That's where I was. That's where I was.
Yeah, it was buried
going-
before the construction.
I was going with this. If John,
Well,
John
that's been
put
said.
this thing in,
right?
no, John wouldn't put the thing in. I mean, when construction was completely going, there was a fence around this thing. I went back and I was trying to find as much as I could about when it started, when it ended, when it went on. And I found some videos that were taken when the construction was going on, and they put a chain link fence around the whole thing. So if John went in there, then he really had some balls. But at the same point, for him to go in there with a hard hat on and a construction vest on,
Nah,
he
John
would have
ain't gonna do
blended.
that.
But I don't think that's the case, because like I'm pretty sure, and I think George, you mentioned this on the last stream, but they had said something in a previous podcast that it was when they were burying it, there was people walking around.
Yeah, Kit
Not
said that he
when they
was.
were redigging.
Kit said when he was,
Maybe construction had been mostly completed by the time they did this,
or it's not anywhere near that construction.
or it's not anywhere near that
Because
construction.
I don't know.
Like-
I don't know if John ever said anything about when it was buried, which is why I'm hesitant to say anything about when it was buried.
Yeah.
But I do know that Kit on one of our streams said that it took John like 30 seconds to bury it, and Kit was the lookout, and someone was walking by, like
Yeah.
that John had to hide from. And I think Kit said he talked to him or
He
something.
talked to the guy. Yeah.
It's pretty. So if Kit's talking to the guy and John's burying it, it kind of tells us something, that it was John not visible from Kit.
Yeah, John had to be ducked down somewhere.
Or tucked away, like around a corner.
Tucked away. I also know from going around that park, and I'm sure all of us that have went around that park and probed, know there's a lot of limestone in that park. There's a lot of areas you cannot bury something, and especially not bury something in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I have to go back and actually read the verse before I. Okay, yeah, I'm glad I didn't say that.
I don't know, Dan. I think my opinion on it is like he buried it when there was no construction, nothing was really going on, and then like later found out like, oh hey, that area there's construction or there's something, like they're digging in the area, right? Like they could have been, we think construction like building and tearing down things, like they could have just been like burying a pipe, right? Like we don't.
My thought was, if it was in that area, like maybe they were done, or maybe John thought they were done, and then John found out they weren't done. And the thing that kept going in my head was they added or moved a bench, and John found that out.
Yeah.
But now Kit's saying Kit's not completely saying to disregard the benches. Kit's just saying it shouldn't affect.
Yeah, he's
even if
kind
it
of
was
saying
moved, it shouldn't affect it. No.
He's kind of saying to disregard him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I look at there's a lot of stuff that's been said by John and Kit over the years that you can sort of take and put together that I'm sure would help. Things that, might just be John telling a story, but might not. Things like he had to dig it up because he felt it was in danger. There was water damage or construction. Like he said kind of all of those things. So look at what's been constructed. Where would that put you in danger? I don't know that I would look at time frames, because I think John's a lot like me, where where you could look at when he made the announcement that he had dug this thing up, right? And you could look at construction around that time to sort of find what was under construction. I don't think you can necessarily do that with John, because just like me, at any time, like, you're never going to know when I'm doing something. You know what I'm saying? I'm always like, if I burying the anniversary hunt, for instance, you will never know when that happened, because you want to give it time for, or not bury, you know what I mean? You want to give it time for the ground to heal. You see what I'm saying? So John might dig it up, but he's going to wait a couple of weeks to let you know, because he wants the time for ground to heal. So I would look at construction from the time that thing was buried to the time that John said he was dug up, and start looking at areas like that, and try to figure out, like, where could Kit be a lookout? Like, what areas does it fit where Kit could be a lookout, where somebody would be walking by talking to Kit that John could be hidden?
Well,
And
that's the thing that I was thinking about, right? Like, if he's just walking by and they're walking a dog, like, I'm just assuming when they went to go dig it back up that they weren't doing that like in the middle of the day or at 4 p.m. when like people are walking like full laps around, right? Like, I kind of feel like it's probably something where like they were just taking a dog on like a very quick short walk, use the bathroom, get back into the house. Like, where in the park would that feasibly happen? Right? Like, it's not going to be in the drop dead center of the park or in like one large area where like it takes 15 or 20 minutes to get to from a house, right? It's got to be something, I would think, fairly shorter, closer to civilization a little bit. And then that could help narrow down things too.
yeah, I think people get into their heads and they ignore these, like, just practical parts of the puzzle, right? Especially when it comes to The Secret, where people are like, oh, Byron buried this thing in the middle of Lafayette Square where there's 7 million tourists every single day wandering around, and it's locked at night. And they don't think, like, Byron's this publicist in the 80s in a three-piece, or not publicist, but publisher in the 80s in a three-piece suit. He's going to bury shit where he can hide, where nobody's going to see him. And John's the same way. Yeah, John's the same way. He's going to bury it where he can hide.
Daniel has a really good question in the comments, and he said, did he ever confirm construction? Like, because we know, like, he was worried about the cask being maybe damaged by water, but is construction confirmed, or is that something that we, I guess, threw out there, started talking about because we know it was going on, and not us, but like the community, the hunt.
This is where it would have been helpful to have your other Daniel friend, who has a catalog of all the quotes.
That's what he's asking. That's what I was going to say.
It was Dan that had the, like, Trucker Dan that has the quotes.
No,
okay.
Daniel Burke is asking in the comments, did JM ever confirm construction, or is that something that just the community has latched onto and postulated, if that's known?
I think that's a good question. I know that there was the fear of water damage, like he was saying.
Yeah, and JM specifically said that. Yeah, like he wrote that out. Yeah.
But like, I think we probably did attribute some kind of construction to that. But like, my question is going to end up being like, how else could there be water damage to a place that was fine before, right? Like, I'm not saying construction has to be the answer, but I'm saying if we're brainstorming, right? Let's say we buried a cask in the ground. Hey, we know this area is fine. Oh, now it's not. Like, what's going to cause that?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we know.
Am I right by saying John realized it wasn't fine by pictures searchers were posting?
I think no, he said himself that it was the person that, hold on, let me find it.
Oh, the person that like is like guarding it or like looking at it.
Yeah, so this is directly from JM's post. He said, there are 3 people who know the location of the burial site: myself, Kit and another person who shall remain nameless. This mystery person, who we will call X, accepted the charge of keeping an eye on the prize, so to speak. So X called me one day and informed me that the cask could possibly be in danger of being damaged. I can't say how or why or even when, as that could give info away, but I knew that there would be naysayers, so I included the actual reason in the handwritten note inside the proxy. So, and then he goes on to say once he recovered it, then he did see water inside of the plexiglass box and so on.
You had to fix it.
So,
Someone also said that the date that it was buried was made public on Dustin White's podcast. I'm going to be angry unless John actually said that. But they said it was October 8th, 2018. I don't think that's correct, but it's pretty close. I think it was like a couple of weeks after that. I want to say it was like October 18th or something. It's pretty close.
yeah. Okay.
So if it was public, it's public. It's fine.
I mean, and just knowing Kentucky, that's a pretty smart time to bury something there, right?
Well, he did,
Because,
it was his only option.
yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, that park's not going to get that much foot traffic in October, right? Because the weather's already turning, like it's fairly cold. You know,
I go there.
fall horse
I
racing
go there
season's in
every-
full swing.
I go there every October for the St. James Art Show, and it's always the first weekend. And that time of the year, normally it's still fairly nice. In fact, sometimes it's like up in the 80s yet.
The past couple of years, it's been a little warm that very first week of October. Yeah.
So, but I'm sure just like in Minnesota, shortly after that, it can go from 80 to 30
Yeah.
like that.
We always say that Kentucky weather is bipolar because you don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes you're in t-shirt and shorts, and then the next week it's snowing. So yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. And maybe we shouldn't spend all of our time trying to solve it the way it wasn't meant to be solved and try to solve it the way it's supposed to be solved. The only thing that worried me was like, did something, if the constructions changed something, if it was a bench and the bench was moved, well, now we need to know that information. But if Kit's saying it's not going to affect it, then did somebody say too that it's not hidden, that Kit or somebody said it's not hidden under a bench or near a bench?
I don't know that anybody's ever said
Has
that.
anyone heard that?
Mhm.
I thought I read that. I wouldn't just make that up at somebody, but it's still so hard to believe because there's so many people saying things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have heard that as well too, but I don't remember where.
I don't think
but-
Kit would say that. I don't think Kit would say anything. Because Kit's pretty tight-lipped.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, he'll talk, but only if you don't ask him like questions that directly relate to the hunt. But a question like that, I don't think Kit would answer. I think it'd be like in that Calazar interview where he's like, I don't know.
I don't remember.
Oh yeah, that's right. John said that the memorial bench, there was a memorial bench for that one chick.
Oh,
That had nothing to do with it.
Oh, okay. Well, then that
Because people were screwing with that chick's memorial bench.
Oh yeah.
I forget her
And it would
name.
probably make sense with as many benches that are in that park because like almost every bench is a memorial
Memorial.
to somebody. Like,
But
you
this
don't
one
want-
was like a fresh, she had just died.
yeah.
And there was like still stuff everywhere.
Yeah, I would say it's probably even smart, like use a bench as a way marker, but don't put it next to the bench, which is what everybody
Yeah.
would do.
so you think you would put it next to something that was very permanent?
Yeah.
Probably kind of like how, the fountain, the water fountain thing is in the window, of the painting, right? Like those things are pretty fairly permanent. They're super old, you know. Could be next to one of those, or one could just be in like eyesight, right? From where you bury it. Like you could be looking at one, you know.
So I
I
think
know
there's a trick.
And then there's a trick.
I think Ryan, just go and dig everywhere. Just do that.
yeah.
Just go dig it all. Dig the whole
Love it.
park. Just
Yeah.
do it. Get a shovel and a wheelbarrow.
In a wheelbarrow.
Just dig the whole park.
Just one wheelbarrow.
Yeah, because you could move.
You wouldn't have to keep the
just-
dirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just empty the dirt back in the hole.
Move it around. That's good.
If the 30-second comment is true, I don't see this thing being buried very deep.
Yeah, no.
You ever
That's
tried to dig
quick.
you ever tried to dig a 3-foot hole into easy digging ground?
I mean, there's no way John's gonna dig a 3-foot hole. Like John, he was a lot of things when it came to a secret hunter. He was very good, but what he was not was a digger. He would not dig. I was surprised that he dug the tribute hole, because like I made Kit tell me. I was like, Kit, you got to be honest. You dug this hole, didn't you? He's like, no, John dug it. I was like, there's no way John picked up a shovel, because he will not dig a hole. So 30 seconds, I can believe he's not going to bury it 3 feet deep. It's going to be right there under the surface.
So what are you thinking? Like a foot and a half?
Less.
Less?
I don't know how the ground is in Kentucky. Is it clay?
No, it's mud.
It's dirt. It's dirt and mud.
Dirt, soil.
Depends
Yeah.
on how wet it is, I guess. Like, because if it's wet, kind of muddy, you can dig a lot quicker.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, there's been times when I've probed there where like it's just rained and it's just trash. Like you can just poke a finger through it if you really
Yeah.
wanted to. But, you know, in the winter, it's, you know, gets pretty solid. Like you'd have to work a little bit to get there. So I guess
mean,
again,
he was never a proponent of like the 2.5 foot thing in The Secret. It was like he realized that Chicago was like 10 inches underground, and
Yeah.
Cleveland was probably like 18. So, you know, he probably just wanted to cover it.
yeah. I mean, that makes more sense. It's also more helpful, like if you're really thinking about that, right? Like you don't need to waste your time probing down 2 feet, 2.5 feet, you know, because I always try to do the math, right? Like if you're saying like, oh, well, the hole's 2.5 feet, well, subtract the, you know, how tall the cask is, and then that's how much it's got to, you know, like how far down is it before you actually hit something. If he didn't spend any time, I mean, gosh, like you said, like you could just little handheld thing, just start poking around.
Yep. Yeah, I wouldn't go very deep at all. Knowing
No, I
John.
can't.
Then given that, I mean, I know personally, I don't know if they want me to say their name or not. Everybody that's local probably knows exactly who I'm talking about. But I mean, there's been a really prolific hunter who goes and probes a lot. And they don't disrupt anything. I mean, you know, they're just probing and stuff like that, but they probe very efficiently. And like, you know, I mean, they've been all over, like, and I know like spend a lot of time on the benches and whatnot, and they'll check spots for people and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, I think
I feel like you guys should just have a meetup in October, and then just go out there and just start probing everything.
they can't arrest us all, right?
Before I stick anything in the ground, I want to have a little bit of confidence, because I think there's going to be something when you see it. It's just going to I think it's going to have a little bit to do with the picture. Like there's in the picture, there's the table with the arch underneath it. I just really feel like there's got to be something. I haven't found it yet, picture of that. Maybe you guys have, but I'm like, I just wonder if that'll be the final aha.
I don't know.
I mean, that's a good point. Like, are we looking to the verse for the dig spot when we should be using the verse to get us to, a specific area and then switch to the painting? And if so, like how or what in the painting, that kind of thing. So
I know shortly I'm going to have to go because we've been going for like
Yeah,
two
me
and a
too.
half hours.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I just got here, but
It's okay.
we went out to a pub for St. Patrick's Day.
That's all right. John's sister came in, and so even if you were here, we wouldn't have been talking about the tribute. So, but is there anything before we go that anyone wants to say? No.
Nope.
Ryan, you gonna come over to my house and?
I was actually just getting ready to say I want to get an up close and personal tour of that game machine behind you.
Let me see if I can get it up there. It's. I don't know if I can zoom in on it. I can't. I don't know how to set up shit. Yeah, but it's cool.
It looks like you did just turn it off though.
What do you
like the screen. You didn't figure out the screen thing.
Screen.
You were talking to me the other day about like trying to figure out the burn in for the screen because you didn't want to leave it on to have everything burn in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so if it's
turn
got
it
like yeah, it's just turned up. Hang on, I'll turn it on.
I love George's like. Dan, are you a big video game person?
No, I'm not.
So it's got like 10 games in it.
Yeah.
I don't know how well you can see it.
Yeah. I can see it pretty good.
It's got 10 games in it now. And but I got this thing called the NES Link, which lets you plug cartridges in it.
Oh.
And then I bought like a 360 whatever in one cartridge. So I can basically play any NES game on it. But so if I put it on free play, it stays on that green screen. But if I turn off of free play, it cycles through the opening of each game.
Oh, of every game, yeah.
Yeah. So if I just leave it on free play, it gets burned in because it just sits on that screen.
Yeah. When you plug the extra card in, like the 360 in one card, is that one of the 10? Right? Is that
it's just one?
It's just one of the 10. So you have to take one of the games out to use that slot.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, a lot of times I know a couple people that have some like player's choice 10s and things like that, but
they can't see it. Hang on.
They always are empty.
They're what? All the games are empty. They can see
like the slots are like they don't have all the games in them. So it'll be like, we got spots for 10, and then everyone has to go and hunt the boards to find them.
Yeah,
and
no. This one's
find the right boards.
This one's full.
Yeah. And with good games.
Yeah.
Like those are like A+ games that you got in there.
Yeah. I got lucky. I really wanted Ninja Gaiden and Contra and
Punch Out?
But I wanted Punch Out and Double Dragon. Like those were my 4. And I got all 4 of those and the Marios. Like it's got Tecmo Bowl, which I don't care about, and Pro Wrestling, which I don't care about.
You got Mike Tyson's Punch Out on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and with Mike Tyson coming back to fight, I think you can sell.
I think it's like the first game.
I saw a video of him practicing the other day, and I was like, oh my God. Like, he is going to hit you and knock you out still. It does not matter.
I gotta watch. I don't usually watch fighting too much, but I will be watching this fight, and I hope he just kicks his ass.
Exactly. I coach swimming as part of my job, and we were at nationals 2 weeks ago, and someone was talking about that fight, and they were like, I don't know, Mike Tyson, I don't know. And I'm like, look, if there's any boxer that I will never doubt ever, it's Mike Tyson. I've seen him knock out too many people with one punch. Like if he wants to hit you and knock you out, it's
Oh,
happening.
did you see him sparring, just
Yes.
hitting the big stuff? I would not want to be on the receiving end of any of those.
No.
I don't know. Like I wouldn't want to fight Mike Tyson, but he's been in a lot of shady sort of fights.
Yeah.
Like somewhere you're like, okay, yeah, that one's probably fixed. Like you took him down and you barely hit him.
Well,
So-
like it's my comment was like if it was a real fight,
Yeah,
and
if
like
it's
he's going out to hurt you, like yes, I'm taking Mike
Yeah.
Tyson.
But-
But if it's like Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather, where they're just like,
Yeah.
you know,
But
like
also like the Paul fights are all really crazy. Like in the contracts, they're all crazy, like towards Paul. You know,
Yeah.
like they have these strange like stipulations that heavily favor Paul. Like there's rumors, like nobody's seen the rules for this fight, but there's rumors that if Tyson knocks out Paul in the first couple of rounds, that he loses like half the purse, right? And if that's the case, like that's only there so that Paul can wear down Tyson. Like Tyson's an old man.
I know. You know what? Tyson don't need the money. Just take him out in 30 seconds.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. If the purse is big enough, then you're like, half is fine. You know,
Yeah.
It's 10 million. I only get 5 million. Okay. You know,
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be fun. I don't trust Logan Paul. That's what it is. I don't trust him. I don't trust him to put on a fair fight.
I think is Jake. Is it
Or
Jake?
is it Jake or Logan? I don't, it's one of them. It's the one that's
Logan-
not in the WWE.
Logan is in the WWE. I was like, Logan is getting ready to wrestle at WrestleMania. So I know that.
Wasn't that a quote from Mike Tyson? Like, I'm going to put you in the WWE with your brother.
That's great. That's great. Okay.
Whatever.
All right, guys, I'm gonna bail.
Okay.
All right.
It was
So,
nice to see you.
Yeah, I
Nice,
guess
we'll
I'll
do
just
it.
close all
Nice
this
seeing you.
out.
Nice meeting you.
Thanks everybody
do
for
it
coming
again.
in.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.